Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to stand and we want you to make some noise.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go racing here at Knoxville.
Only the best go 3 abreast. It is show time at Williams Grove Speedway.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here at Eldora Speedway, it's showtime!
You got them for a breath. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
It's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy because, ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime!
Set to do battle for 30 laps. The green flag is waving.
Hey, 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 it is time for that time of the week. Of course it is. It's time to talk sprint cars with our favorite drivers across the land, with, of course, our favorite viewers across the way as well. Gotta love it. Absolutely exciting, I guess you could say, living in this virtual world that we have right now. I'm Ashley Stremme, and joining me is Erin Evernham for our pre-race chat.
Yeah, I'm excited. You know, I thought last week's show on FS1 was great. It was great to have Johnny Gibson on and to have Jeff Gordon and Adam Alexander and Clint Boyer talking sprint cars on a Wednesday night, 8 o'clock on cable. That was pretty sweet.
Yes, definitely. And I know the drivers are loving this as well as the sponsors jumping on board. Like we talked with Napa last week, having their onboard cameras. I know that there's going to be several doing the same as we continue this. And it's just a cool way for the sponsors to get involved in and still, you know, get their name on places that they've never been before, like Fox Sports 1.
It really is. And I know the drivers are loving it. Yeah, it's not the real thing, but you can see drivers going out and piecing together simulators so they can just be a part of it.
It's so true. I talked last week about how I'm missing the dirt in my French fries. I'm about to have to dig some up in my backyard here just so I can still get the real feel of what it's like to go sprint car racing. But until then, we've got what we have to work with. And like you said, these guys are doing a phenomenal job. This week on our show, we've got some really cool guests. We have Johnny Gibson, the voice of the World of Outlaws, joining us, and he'll talk a little bit about, you know, his last journeys the last few weeks with this whole Fox Sports 1 deal. And of course, we've got Chase Briscoe, who's been dominating in both the late model and the sprint car world, and Trent Ivey. Most people don't know him in the sprint car world. That's because he's a late model racer, and he won last week on Fox Sports 1 with the late model portion, but is now also doing the sprint car racing as well. And then, of course, Logan Schuchart. I'm excited to talk to Logan because we all know about shark racing and how they really try to make ends meet and make the race teams work. And after seeing the picture that he shared of his simulator and what he's got going on, absolutely incredible.
It really is. It's definitely shark racing. You know, they put together so much with so little, and they're even doing that with a simulator. And then don't forget, after the race tonight, to get on Facebook Live and chat with Postman. He will be hosting a post-race chat, and you can, you know, I'll share your thoughts.
Absolutely. So be sure to tune in for Steve's post-race review, if you will. And I guess we got to dial up Johnny here and get him in on the virtual deal.
Joining us now on the show is the voice of the World of Outlaws, Johnny Gibson. Thanks for joining us today.
Guys, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. Nice to be able to do something and get out of the house, so to speak, my house that's parked out back of the Dirt Vision studios here in Concord, North Carolina.
So Clint Boyer tweeted out a really nice tweet after last week's race and basically told the Twitter world how quickly this whole thing came about for you to be part of the broadcast and how the crazy journey you drove straight down and straight back, or some crazy stories. Tell us about last week.
Yeah, actually, last week I was in Pennsylvania with my family and got the call on Monday night at 8 o'clock saying, hey, we'd like you to come down and do some stuff for the iRacing broadcast on Fox, which at the time I had been told they might want me to come in and do the 4-wide call. So I said, yeah, I can probably make something happen. And I said, you guys are just going to do the 4-wide, right? And they said, no, we want you to call the races. And took me by complete shock. So I had some stuff going on with my family in Pennsylvania, and I had to be there this past weekend. So my option was drive down and drive back. So got in my car, drove from Pittsburgh to Charlotte, did the show Wednesday evening, and then drove back home, got home at a little before 5 a.m.
Absolutely incredible. And now I see that you've driven the home away from home down to
Yes.
Charlotte. You're actually calling this place home now.
Yeah, I'll be in Charlotte basically until World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series goes back to the track and things get back to normal. It's really cool being here. It's going to make things so much easier as far as calling the iRacing action on Dirt Vision like we're going to do later this evening, and then being able to get to the Fox studios here in Charlotte for the iRacing stuff there, which is really cool, and I hope we do a lot more of them. Also to be able to help with some stuff on social media and some content for Dirt Vision. So just going to make things a little easier and a little closer to normal for what my life is.
Yeah, you don't have to do all that traveling in between races. Johnny, how different is it to call a virtual race as opposed to being at the track watching?
It is really different for me because I'm not necessarily a TV guy. So I'm used to scanning the whole track and going back and forth and maybe seeing something in turns 1 and 2, but talking about something I just saw in 3 and 4, I'm probably in a position where there are very few jobs available that having a little bit of ADD is probably an advantage, and that's probably me. But with the iRacing and the virtual racing, I'm basically seeing exactly what the people at home are seeing on the screen. So it's really strange for me to not be able to see more of the racetrack, just to be able to kind of pick out what they're showing. The first 2 that I did for Dirt Vision from my motorhome in Pennsylvania were really difficult because I didn't have access to the timing and scoring. I didn't have access to lineups. So I would see the lineup when it flashed on the screen. The race would go green. I'd have to pick out the cars with the numbers and cars that I'm not used to seeing because guys have different paint schemes for the iRacing thing. And then trying to pick out a battle and figure out what position it's for because I don't have the timing and scoring in front of me. So I'm watching these 2 guys have a great battle, and I don't know whether it's for 3rd or for 8th or what we're seeing. So it was really tough for the first 2. The iRacing on Fox Sports 1 last Wednesday, much better. I had timing and scoring. I had multiple views. It was really cool. And now being here at the Dirt Vision studios, I'll have the same thing for the dirt racing, for the iRacing that we do on Dirt Vision. So it'll be a lot better being here. It's another reason I wanted to come to Charlotte.
Well, Johnny, you talk about Fox Sports 1, and I think we're all kind of taken back that sprint cars are finally on FS1. Obviously, it's the virtual side of things. But I want to talk to you about announcing in the booth, because obviously you guys are still social distancing while you're there in the studios. What's that like? Because usually when you're at a sprint car race, the announcer that you're working with, I'm assuming, is probably near you in a visual perspective. What's it like doing that from a social distancing perspective? It was really strange for me because Jeff, Clint, and Adam were all in the big studio. They were separated, but they were all together in the same room. I was actually in a different room. I was in the room that Larry McReynolds has been in for the NASCAR iRacing events. So I couldn't even see those guys. I was just kind of listening to the director and listening to them. But I thought for the fact that we were separated by rooms and not just by distance in the same studio, I thought we pulled it off really well. I was really surprised that for having not worked with those guys before and for them having not worked with me, we were all on the same page. It went together very smoothly, and I was just so pleasantly surprised by that, because there are just some people that you work with where you have a natural rhythm, and there are others where no matter how great a person they are, no matter how nice they are, no matter how professional they are, you just don't have that rhythm, and sometimes it doesn't work. And it worked really well for all of us. It was really cool getting to work with Adam again, because Adam Alexander and I actually worked together at Tri-State Speedway in Hobstad, Indiana, back in the late 1990s, right when I was first starting announcing for the World of Outlaws.
That's awesome. You guys sounded like a well-oiled machine. I mean, it was very, very smooth from our perspective. Johnny, when you think about the World of Outlaws getting the chance to be on FS1 at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday, prime time, from your point of view, how big is it for the World of Outlaws?
It really is. And again, even though it's the virtual side of things, it's iRacing, it's not real sprint car racing, it is close enough that our hardcore fans are going to tune in, because it's what racing is at this point in time in America until we get things straightened out and get back to the racetracks. But the people who maybe have seen the NASCAR version of iRacing and are tuning in and getting their first exposure to sprint cars, it's close enough where I think they can get excited about it and say, hey, maybe I need to check this out in person. It's so true. And they were so smart to bring you on, because obviously with the World of Outlaws, you are the voice, and everyone kind of relates to that.
And Johnny, I want to talk about a tweet that you actually shared, and it was absolutely remarkable because, you know, us who are diehard fans who hear your voice and we know the picture that you paint, Colby Garrison, I believe it was, tweeted out that she's actually blind. And it was so cool to hear her say that she enjoyed listening because you did paint such a great picture. I mean, to know that you hit somebody on that level, obviously that's got to hit home for you.
It really did. It was really an emotional moment to see that tweet. And in all my years of announcing, I'm in my 25th season now. That's one of the best compliments I've ever received. And it was overwhelming to hear somebody say that and to just, again, it's almost tough to not get emotional thinking about it right now because that is just so cool. And I'm so glad I was able to do that and allow somebody to enjoy what I think is the greatest form of motorsports in the world.
And I couldn't agree more. And being a former outlaw, to me, that race wouldn't have been nearly what it was, or a true outlaw race last week if you weren't calling it. I mean, not to be brown-nosing, but that's the truth. You are the voice of the Outlaws. And you mentioned you've been doing this for 25 seasons. I think the last time I bumped into you at a track, we talked about how many consecutive races that you have called. You haven't missed one in how long, if you include these virtual races, how many races in a row is it now?
And actually the streak that I have includes the year and a half before I even started announcing, when I was just selling programs for the Outlaws. But the last Outlaw race I missed was the weekend of Syracuse and Rolling Wheels in 1995. So right now it's 1,992 consecutive races. So hopefully we get back to the track soon and we can maybe get that 2,000 plateau and maybe get a little this talk about the streak out of the way and can concentrate more on racing.
That's absolutely incredible. Holy moly. And I mean, obviously, I'm sure you probably worked through sick times, and I'm impressed that you never once lost your voice through this whole deal.
I didn't say I haven't lost my voice, but I've kind of worked through it. In fact, it kind of ties in with what we're going to be doing this coming week on Dirt Vision with the watch party, because we're going to go back and take a look at the two races at Bristol that we did back in 2000 and 2001. And that race at Bristol was actually one of those times where I was working through having lost my voice. The way I remember it working, we had a race at Hagerstown, Maryland on like a Saturday or Sunday, and then the Outlaws were going to Charlotte for an open practice at the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway because it was opening that year. So we had two big events coming up. We were going to race at Charlotte for the first time, and we were going to race at Bristol. And we went to Charlotte for practice, and I lost my voice during the feature at Hagerstown. Like, by the time it was done, I had nothing left. So I went to Charlotte, but I wasn't able to be a part of the practice session. I was there at the racetrack, but I had found a doctor here in Charlotte and gone in the day before and said, hey, I've lost my voice. I need it. This is what I do for a living. And they got me fixed up and said, hey, if you can rest it for a couple of days. So I went like 3 days without talking at all, went to Charlotte just to watch the practice session and get a feel for the racetrack. We went from Charlotte over to Bristol for an open practice there, and then had the race at Bristol, and that was the first time I was actually able to get back to talking. But there have been a couple of times where you go to a race not feeling well, but you fight through it because this is what you do. Again, I've been really, really fortunate to not have anything more serious than that, and it's allowed me to be at the races all the time. I've had a couple of occasions where even before the days of the motorhome, I had a car breakdown on the way to the racetrack and hitched a ride with the race team to get there. Just things like that. But again, I've been so fortunate to be able to go that many years without missing a race, and I hope I go that many more again.
Well, your dedication is appreciated by all of us fans and media, drivers, you name it. Johnny, that first race that you called virtually on iRacing Dirt Vision a few weeks back, it looked like when they did the 4 wide, you didn't think it was going to happen. How cool is it that it came together? Because that's your most famous line. That's what you're known for. How cool was that moment?
It caught me so off guard because the night before we had an exchange of emails and some phone calls, and I was told, no, we can't do that on iRacing. It doesn't allow for it. We only have 2 laps to get the drivers lined up, so we can't do a 4 wide. So I had actually prepared a 4 wide saying without them actually going 4 wide. I had something like, you wanted the best. Tonight they can't go 4 abreast, but they're still the greatest show on dirt. And then all of a sudden I see them forming 4 wide. I'm like, well, I guess maybe they can.
That's awesome. Well, Johnny, we really appreciate you joining us today. We look forward to listening and watching for you tonight.
Guys, thanks so much for having me on. Looking forward to everybody tuning in to Dirt Vision tonight and Fox Sports 1 tomorrow night. We're going to do some more World of Outlaws racing on iRacing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Power isn't born. It's built over time. For over 65 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move more drivers. Whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain. And we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Dirt Night in America, you wanted the best. You got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt. The most powerful late models on the planet. The World of Outlaws, Morton Buildings late models. The World of Outlaws, NOS Energy Drinks Sprint Car. It'll get the signal to show you the most awesome sight in all of motorsports.
We're back. You're watching Winged Nation, and joining us now, we have none other than Xfinity racer Chase Briscoe. Chase, you've been dabbling in the iRacing world now, and I have to ask, how does this happen? Because Erin and I are kind of not on top of the iRacing world. So do you have to get an invitation from the World of Outlaws to be able to race their late model and sprint car race? And how do you get that invitation? Do you have to lobby for it? Do you put your PR person out to get you an invite? How does that work?
Yeah, so I've been on iRacing since 2011, so I've been on there a long time. But yeah, the World of Outlaw races, the FS1 races are kind of invite only. And last week I was in the late model only, and then this week I'll be in both. And then the other ones, I think as long as you have a dirt park membership, you can run in the Dirt Vision races, as far as I know. So it's been fun to get on there. Normally you're racing against sometimes professional sim racers, and it's hard to beat those guys. It's fun to get on there and race against guys you always race against and guys that are kind of in your skill caliber. And it's like I said, it's just fun to race on there with people that you know. I mean, obviously, a lot of the time there's guys that are just random people that you might not know, and it's fun to get on there and race against people that you're used to racing with. And it's pretty wild how their characteristics in real life kind of carry over into the sim world as well.
Chase, you've been doing the sim racing, I think, since 2011, you said. Has it been interesting to see some of the guys who have just got into this and just bought sims, how well they've done?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the sprint car guys, there's a lot of new ones in that. But, even last week, Scott Bloomquist, for example, hopped on a late model. And, I mean, he wasn't, so fast that he was winning every race, but he was so competitive for only being on there, I think, for 2 or 3 days. It was unbelievable how quick he was, how quick he was for how early it was. So I think that's just a testament. If you can drive a real race car, I think it's fairly easy to figure out iRacing because it is so accurate and so realistic. And obviously it's a little bit different than what we do in the real world because we don't have the same sensations of what we're feeling. But, those guys that are that good in real life, they figure it out pretty quick. And it's pretty neat to see a lot of these new guys get on there that if it wasn't for what's going on right now, they probably would never even have got on iRacing.
That's a very good point. We definitely live in a virtual world right now with everything that's going on. But Chase, talk about the different platforms of racing. Obviously, the late model, the sprint car, and even with NASCAR. Are they similar? Are they very different? I mean, are you jumping in a different car literally every time you climb behind that wheel with whatever setup you have?
Yeah, for sure. The dirt stuff, I feel like is super accurate right now. I've only ran a late model once, and I don't really remember how the late model drove, but the wing sprint car, for example, I feel like is as close as you could ever get to how realistic it is. It's just so accurate. I mean, if you go on a tacky track, just the speed you feel of the wing car to trying to stay straight, and then if it's slick, we ran a race at Knoxville the other night, and it was so slick you couldn't even run past half throttle, and it was so accurate to real life how it would really be. So I think the wing sprint car deal is spot on. The late model, like I said, it's hard for me to really remember how the late model drove, but from my buddies that run late models, they say it drives pretty similar too. So it's fun to get on there. And, the biggest thing I think iRacing has that they have going for them is the track changes literally just like it does in real life. It goes from tacky to slick, and the track will literally change throughout the feature in a 30-lap race. It might be really good on one end on the top and one end on the bottom, and then completely swap, directions. And just crazy how good they have it, how realistic it is.
How wild is that you can run a NASCAR race, a World of Outlaw late model race, and World of Outlaw sprint car race in your own home? I mean, that's just so neat. Chase, I watched on social media your description of your sim rig, and it was really impressive. We've seen the whole gamut. We've seen the really cheap ones to the really nice ones, but yours has the motion. So with the dirt car, does it with the wing sprint car, does it lean to the left? With a late model, does it kind of hang to the right? How does the motion work for the dirt?
Yeah, the motion on the dirt's really fun, but it honestly makes it kind of tough. I think it slows me down more than anything, just because I'm getting thrown around so much. Especially if I hit the cushion or anything, I mean, it throws me like it would in real life. And yeah, the wing sprint car, it'll lay left like it actually does in real life. And then the late model, if I just pick up the gas, it'll lift the left front up, or if I hit the berm or anything. So it's definitely a neat feeling, and I feel like it is an advantage to a certain extent, just because I can feel the car a lot more. But like I said, if it's on a cushion or the track's really rough, I have a hard time just because I'm getting thrown around, truthfully, quite a bit. And if I flip it, it throws you around good. So the motion's definitely cool, but at the same time, I feel like I could probably go a little bit faster without it in a race situation. But as far as turning laps and just trying to get, build your craft, I think the motion's definitely the ticket.
Chase, what does a week look like for you leading up to this? Obviously, it's probably different than what a typical race would be, watching films and stuff. I mean, how many nights are you on the simulator? Are you trying to get as many laps in, knowing that it's Knoxville tonight and tomorrow? Are you racing multiple times throughout the day to just get laps and get the feel that you want out of that car?
Yeah, I don't probably do as many laps as I should. My wife and me have been busy doing yard work and housework, and we got 2 dogs, so I haven't been up here as much as I'd probably like to be. But I was talking to a couple of my buddies, and they've literally did 2,000 laps at Knoxville. And I just don't know if I could put 2,000 laps into it. But yeah, I definitely practice. This week, Sunday night, we had 2 practice races, and I'll get on there and try to do those. And then we have the Dirt Vision races on Monday and Tuesday nights, and then the FS1 deal on Wednesdays. So we run them all at the same track of whatever the FS1 race is. So I've got laps at Knoxville. Definitely don't have as much as the other guys, but setup wise, I literally just run the same setup at every track and just change my gear typically, and that's about it. I kind of have the feel I like on there, and I feel like in the wing sprint car, I have a pretty good idea of what I need, but the late model, I'm lost. I don't know what any of that stuff does. I don't know what a droop chain does or anything. So I'm kind of out to lunch on the late model side, but the sprint car deal, I feel pretty competitive, and normally if I can run 10th or better in the late model, it's a good night.
Yeah, I'd say that'd be a really good night. You also wear the virtual reality goggles, which is different than anyone I think we've talked to yet. Everyone else has the single screen or the triple screens. Talk about what that's like. And just speaking from my own little experience with the sim, I got really motion sick, which is funny because I never obviously do on a real racetrack. Is that something that happens with people on simulators?
Yeah, for sure. I run, like you said, the virtual reality, and I just recently started doing that about 1.5 years ago. And in the 2 months I ran it, I would get so sick I couldn't really run but 30 minutes and I'd quit. So it kind of took me a little while to get used to it. And since I have motion, I think it makes it easier to do it just because my body actually moves around, and it doesn't make me as dizzy, I think, if I didn't have motion. But the virtual reality is I think a big help, just because I can literally turn my head left to right, or I can look my eyes one way, and it's just like I am in the real race car. I see my headrest out of the corner of my eye, the whole 9 yards. So I think the VR is really good. The problem with VR is it's not as clear as, just a single screen or triple screens, just because the technology's not there yet. So it's a little hard for me to see a full straightaway ahead of me, what's going on. It's kind of blurry. So I'm sure in the next 3 to 4 years, it's going to be unbelievable, and everybody will probably switch to the VR stuff. But for now, I'm one of the few guys that's on it, yeah.
So Chase, In my world, the really important question is, obviously these are hour, 2 hours, sometimes all day if you choose to race. What is your drink and snack of choice to have?
Yeah, so normally before I had the VR and everything, I could eat and drink, but this thing's so big on my head, I can't do anything. I can't see, obviously, because I'm in the game. I can't see anything around me. But used to, Cheez-Its and Gatorade were kind of my two go-tos. But now, like I said, I can't do it anymore. But yeah, Cheez-Its and I think it's lemon lime, whatever the yellow Gatorade is. That's my drink of choice.
I love it. Awesome. Thanks, Chase. We appreciate you being on, and good luck tonight and tomorrow night. We'll be rooting with you on the late model side of things, since
I need some help. You can get David to help me out on what the droop chain is and all this stuff. It would be a big help.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, Chase. We appreciate it.
You guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars from the Knoxville Raceway here on Wing Nation's pre-race show. Gotta love it. Really great stuff going on. And, it's an interesting time. We're taping this show a day early, so you hear the guys talking about the race tonight on Dirt Vision. We have a lot of things going on in this crazy world that we live in, but this is really awesome stuff that we've got going on right now.
And speaking of awesome stuff, one of our partners, Hercules Tires, has a really cool promotion. If you purchase 4 tires, Hercules Tires, between April 1st and 30th, 2020, you can get up to a $70 Visa prepaid card. For more information, visit HerculesTires.com/spring rebate to learn more. Joining us now on Wing Nation pre-race show is Trent Ivey, winner of the late model race from last week at Charlotte. How you doing, Trent?
I'm now good that I got Zoom working. I was a little stressed out, but we're good.
Yeah. Tell us about that win last week. Had to be pretty big for you. I know it's virtual racing, but it was still on Fox Sports 1, and you beat some pretty darn good drivers.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal for me. I won some pretty big shows for my life, but knowing with getting the exposure that I got from a virtual race, but it was really cool. I never would have thought I'd have won it, that's for sure.
Trent, my husband wanted to say congratulations. He was cheering pretty hard for you there in that late model race, so he's pretty proud to see you take that win home. And just really cool stuff. Obviously, you're just a local small track racer in South Carolina, and obviously you travel the East Coast. There's the cat. Hey. God, I love it. Gotta love it. Anyhow, small town guy in South Carolina that races. You travel the East Coast. You kind of pick and choose your races. What has it been like for you? And then to win on Fox Sports 1, and you're also running the sprint car side of things. I mean, did you ever, for once in a million years, thought you'd say that you're racing sprint cars on Fox Sports 1? No,
it was pretty big. I'm glad David was watching too. I like David, but it was pretty electric, and like I said, I never would have thought I'd have won a freaking race on national TV, So just happy to be able to do this, and everything that's coming from it. Like just a few minutes ago, I'm on there practicing with Bubba Wallace and Pablo Montoya. So I don't know what the heck is going on. I'm just still shocked.
Trent, have you done a lot of sim racing, or is this kind of something you've just picked up with these unfortunate circumstances?
I just do it like I've told many people, I just do it for fun. Like me and a couple buddies, we'll get on there and just run over each other at night, just for the heck of it. And that's all it's ever been to me. Like all these guys are doing this league stuff, and I'm just like, man, I just want to get on there and have a good time. And then I got this opportunity, and it's pretty much changed everything. Like now I'm trying to run as much as I can. Like today, normally I'd be at the shop goofing off. Now I'm here running on my sim. So I don't know what it's doing to me.
I love it. And I mean, hopefully we get back racing soon so you can get back to working on that race car instead of playing video games. But in the meantime, it's what we have to work with. And I want to talk about the whole sim thing because you unfortunately had some mishaps earlier when your computer crashes. Obviously, you know, when you go out for a heat race and you get into a guy or you get into the wall, you got to fix your race car. But how frustrating is it when your computer just crashes?
Oh my God, that I've never been so sick. I mean, it literally felt like the real thing. Like, you know, when something just goes wrong, your motor blows up, you have a flat, something crazy like that. That's exactly the same feeling I had that day. And I was on the outside pole, and it was looking to be another dream come true night. And it cost me $1,000. Had to get another computer. I was down and out. I was like, man, this sucks. And then I won that race, and they told me it paid $1,000. I didn't even know it. I was just racing for the heck of it. And I won that $1,000 back. I was like, you know what? I'm starting to like this. So from then on, it's turned around, and it's been a lot better than I ever thought it would be. So just I'm just glad we have iRacing to fall back on, like you said. I mean, what would us race car people be doing if we didn't have iRacing? So I'm just thrilled to be a part of it.
Unfortunately, that $1,000, you could put it right back into a new computer. Trent, I was going through your social media, and I saw after last week's win, I saw notes from Casey Kane, from all sorts of people congratulating you on that win. I know we hit on it a little bit already, but just talk about how neat it is that from all the racing you've done, this virtual racing has actually given you a main stage, and everyone, you're almost a household name in the dirt racing world right now.
Yeah, I know. It's opened up so many opportunities, like I said, with the Bubba Wallace and Juan Pablo deal, but I hadn't told anybody this, but Jonathan Davenport actually lives an hour from me, and he was at my house last night turning laps, getting ready for Lucas's Friday esports debut. So who would have ever thought that 3-time Lucas national champion would have been here at my house on my rig? So, and it's just old wooden table. Like, I got to send y'all a picture of it, but it's rough. But he was here, and he's going to come back Friday and run their race, and just who'd have thunk it, you know?
It's awesome to hear you say that, Trent, because you've got guys like Logan Schuchart, who we have on next. He's just got a wheel clamped to a table. You take somebody like Timmy Hill, who won the NASCAR race a couple of weeks ago. Same deal. He doesn't have much invested into his sim racing. So it kind of, would you say, levels out the playing field that, you know, maybe the guys that don't have the hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in their race team and can actually be competitive now with these guys in the sim world?
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the big things when World of Outlaws actually did a little story about me and my racing rig and stuff like that. And he said, man, I wish you'd send me a picture of your rig. And that's what he kept calling. I said, yeah, man, I'll send you a picture of it. And I sent him a picture of this old wooden table with this wheel clamped to it. And he said, dude, what's going on? And I said, this is all I got. And he said, that absolutely makes the story so much better, like you said, because it really does level out the playing field. I mean, it's just the bone stock, roughest thing you've ever seen. But it runs pretty good. It's good. Life is good.
So obviously the hope is that we get back to real racing pretty soon. But do you see, you know, with your success on the iRacing, do you see yourself trying to make that happen during the week when you can?
Yeah, I think so. But I also feel like with the racing being on hold and it's really backing up all the shows and all the tracks and all the series, I think we'll be just so busy with the regular racing season. It's going to be hard to kind of touch with the iRacing stuff. And I think everybody else is going to have trouble with it too. So I don't know that I'll be on there much then, but for now, I'm definitely going to just run it hard because I'm ready to go racing. I'm sure y'all are too.
We are. Now, Trent, what would you be doing if this whole iRacing thing didn't come about? Would you be trying to engineer some new stuff to make your race car go fast right now?
We did a lot of organization stuff when we first stopped. You know, I was in there and I was cleaning the rig up, and I mopped it, and I don't mop. And I was mopping it, and I put springs and shocks and hung them up and just made everything nice and pretty. And I run out of that stuff to do, and so, well, what am I going to do now? So I was playing video games pretty hard that next week. So, dude, I got to do something. I'm going to sit in here and just get fat. So I played tennis when I was in high school. So me and some buddies went back and started playing tennis. And dang if they didn't shut the tennis courts down. So I'm just gonna get nice and fat in here playing iRacing, I guess.
Oh, Trent, thank you so much for the laughs. And please make sure to send us a picture of your rig. I got to see it.
Yes, tweet us.
You definitely have a new fan in me. I can tell you. I've enjoyed your humor, your great interview. And we wish you the best of luck tomorrow night.
Well, I'm just glad y'all had me on here, and we are able to have a good time during this weird thing we're going through. So, yeah, check me out. And if you see anybody that wants a sprint car raced, let me know, because I am in the market. I swear.
Thank you so much.
See you.
Hey, Ashley, what are you up to?
Oh, I just stopped by to grab some sage fruit apples. Now I just have to decide which ones.
You can never go wrong with a Honeycrisp. They're light, crisp, and full of perfectly balanced flavor.
Oh, hey!
You could always go with one of their classics, the Gala or Fuji. They're both sweet and juicy.
Grown in the heart of Eastern Washington, Sage Fruit Company works hard on the farm and with their retail partners to provide high-quality apples and pears to consumers all year long.
Well, I couldn't decide which ones. Thanks for the help, guys.
I'll race you to checkout.
Dirt Night in America, you wanted the best. You got them for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt. The most powerful late models on the planet. The World of Outlaws, Morton Buildings late models. The World of Outlaws, NOS Energy Drinks Sprint Car. They'll get the signal to show you the most awesome sight in all of motorsports.
We're back here watching Wing Nation's pre-race for the World of Outlaws sprint cars at Knoxville. As we said before, we pre-recorded this a day early. So we're going to chat with Logan Schuchart now. He comes off a podium finish from the Fox Sports 1 cast with the sprint cars. Logan, awesome stuff that you guys are doing. And how cool is it to be on Fox Sports 1 with the sprint cars?
That's awesome, for the World of Outlaws and just sprint cars and late models, like the whole World of Outlaw group dirt racing, to get that kind of coverage is awesome. It's great for everybody involved.
Logan, we saw a picture of your rig. I know you're working on a new one, but your old one had this big C-clamp. I mean, it was good stuff. So obviously sim racing is pretty new to you. New to you, I'm guessing?
Yeah, so I got my rig that you saw that we posted pictures on a couple years ago when the dirt stuff first came out. I thought, I got to get it. So I just got whatever was kind of cheapest but was going to work at the time. So it's pretty fun. I did a little bit over the winter time, but now that's all we got. So we need a little bit of a project going on, some race cars in our life. So if we're going to be on FS1, we got to look good. So Jake and I are both, you see in the background, messing with some cars. Tyler Garber's working on Jake's right now. So we hope to have them up and running. Maybe next. We're going to try for next week, not tomorrow. So the scruffified version is going to work tomorrow.
I love it. And we've talked about how, it doesn't matter if you've got a $200 setup or a $20,000 setup, everyone's competitive. But Logan, your sim deal that you're working on there in the background, it's got a little bit of history with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I was trying to figure it out. I'm pretty positive, this car didn't last long. It's why it's sitting out there. Both of our cars that we're making these simulators out of, actually both were crashed at Chico. One was Jake's and one was mine, 2 different years. But mine, I believe, I'm pretty positive, won the Ironman in 2018. And when it was basically brand new, it only lasted about 15 races until it got crashed in September in Chico. So, but it's been sitting out back. So it seemed like the perfect simulator to cut up.
I love the homemade stuff. That's such a great sim to me. We've interviewed a few people now on the show, and we've seen all different levels. We just talked to Trent Ivey in South Carolina, who had something similar to what you're working with now. And we talked to Chase Briscoe earlier as well, and his has got the full motion, the virtual reality goggles. But like Ashley said, it's pretty neat that you can have a pretty inexpensive sim or a very expensive sim, but somewhat be on an even playing field as far as when you're on the track. That's different than the real world, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think if anybody, I think our team's done a good job with doing a lot with a little, but we did that FS1 thing the other night, and you've seen what I was working with. So it's not and then I've got in some rooms right after that racing with the same guys, and I got crashed and I'm dead last. So it can go either way pretty easy. But it's a fun deal. We all want to race. We wish we were out racing, but this is what we got right now, and it's a lot of fun.
Now, I saw, I think it was on Instagram, you shared Mr. Scruff, Mr. Shark Racing, the original Bobby Allen, obviously. He was behind the simulator. Now, I'm really curious what he thought compared to, when he used to race sprint cars and now jumping on a simulator.
Well, if anybody knows my grandpa really well or at all, he's 100% racing all the time. And since this is what we got going on right now, he's calling everybody, calling Kyle Larson, calling whoever has these rigs, David Gravel, all the guys that are good at it. And what do you have? What kind of monitors? What kind of PC? So that's just how he is. He's all about it. So, but that was the first time he's really tried it, and he wants one of his own. So we'll see how that goes. And he had some fun. So we'll see. If not, he's jumping in these.
He wants one of his own. I think we should start a little fun. I think we should start a Scruffy fun. Help him get a simulator of his own.
Yeah, we'll get vintage lead.
On a more serious note, as far as a race team goes, we talked, I think it was last spring, to a lot of guys about the amount of rainouts and how much it affects the team as far as financially. You're not on the track, you're not earning money. Well, unfortunately, this situation happened with coronavirus, and millions of people are out of work, unfortunately. But talk about how, we're making do with this virtual racing, and it's fun and it's getting some good exposure, but how it affects your race team really not being on the road for a few months.
Well, really, if this was us starting out the first couple of years, and it seems like I say that every year, people come along and they help us. 2018, it was Richard and Jennifer Marshall, and then Dryden came on board a couple months later. But really this time of the year, we'd be in, it'd be really, really tough. It's already tough, but without, our sponsors like Dryden, NGK Sparkplug, C&D Riggin, who continue to help us even though we're not racing and their name's not out there, they're happy with being on a simulator right now. And it's actually, like you said, working out really well being on FS1. That's great exposure for them. So it's great that we're able to, help them continue to race.
It's so true. We've discussed that a lot, how sponsors are getting an opportunity that once probably never would on Fox Sports 1. And it's absolutely incredible that even though what we're going with in our world, that we're still finding a way to race in some way, shape, or form. Logan, other than obviously working on your sim, are you guys still working in the shop on your race cars? You guys tinkering? Are you making laps on iRacing? What does a day look like for you?
Right now we're messing with these things. I worked on the motorhome a little bit in the last couple of weeks. Well, a lot, not just a little bit. If anybody has one of them, they have lots of issues. But my girlfriend Summer, her dad does some landscaping. I'm helping him a little bit, but not a whole lot going on with our race cars. They're sitting for a while, so a little bit of maintenance with from sitting, winterize them a little bit. But that's about all that's going on. We're pretty bored.
Yeah, I think we all are a little bit. So we're glad we get to at least watch you guys on Fox Sports 1. Last week you finished third at Charlotte. It seems like you race more often at Knoxville, and you're usually pretty stout at Knoxville. Have you practiced more there? Are you looking forward to that?
I was practicing last night whenever I knew the track, I know the other guys are on there practicing, so I knew I had to get on there and practice. So I think I got in a room last night and Brian and Brown won, so imagine that. But we're pretty close. I think we can run with them, so hopefully we'll see how the next two nights go on Dirt Vision and then FS1. So trying to get faster.
Awesome. Well, Logan, we appreciate you joining us, and hopefully we'll see Bobby Allen's name pop up on that invitational list here in the near future. But again, always, thanks for joining us, Logan. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always great.
The Wing Nation pre-race show for the World of Outlaws iRacing Invitational at Knoxville tonight. So, Ashley, what do you think? I think we had some great guests today.
Oh, 100%. It's so cool that we actually can get to chat with these guys, even though we're not racing in real life. It's all virtual, but it is good to catch up with them and see what they're up to and what they're doing to keep busy, because obviously they're going through a different time that they're not used to. You know, by now they've had hundreds of thousands of miles put on their motorhomes and trucks and trailers across the United States.
For sure. And racers are racer. They don't care where it is. They just want to race. So thank you to Johnny Gibson, Chase Briscoe, Trent Ivey, and Logan Schuchart for joining us. Make sure post-race you join us on Facebook Live, the Wing Nation page. Postman's going to host a nice little chat. I've caught a few of them. They go on for a while, so get yourself a cold one and sit down and enjoy them. And be sure to check out our Facebook page or Twitter page, YouTube. All our old shows are on. And make sure you can tweet your seat. We're still doing that on MAV TV. And also I saw the World of Outlaws are putting out a thing. They want us to use the hashtag Racing Together. It's something they're promoting. So if you get the chance, post a tweet, post a picture, make sure you tag Racing Together. But thank you all for joining us here today. On behalf of Ashley, myself, and our awesome producer, Craig Moore, thank you very much. So we'll catch you all on Fox Sports 1 watching the race in just a little bit.
Watch Wing Nation Saturday mornings on MAV TV. You can also find Wing Nation on wingnation.com or your favorite podcast provider. Wing Nation is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.